So howdy Mandelbulberians, this is Steve Sink of Laser Fractals now, and I just wanted to do a quick tutorial on how to do spreadsheets in Mandelbulber. When you're doing animating and you want to do some complex movement of shapes throughout the animation, it's often easier to take something offline of Mandelbulber and put it into a spreadsheet and do some global changes where you can copy and paste a whole column quickly and easily in a spreadsheet, but it would take you forever and ever in Mandelbulber. And so I have a quick example here. So I have this this is just a draft video in draft quality, and we're going to spin around this tower here. And pretty much that's the entire video. It's going to allow, there's 20 keyframes, and we're just going to spin around this tower. Now there's morphing going on and everything, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to have a mirror ball right here in the corner, basically right where our next keyframe is. We're constantly rotating around this shape, so I want the mirror ball to be ahead of us. So in Mandelbulber, here's the keyframes, and I have it in fast mode just so we can render it quickly. So in Mandelbulber, I have, for example, on the very first keyframe, I have the ball roughly where it's going to be in the video, and I'd like it to constantly kind of remain there as we flip around this shape. Now to do that, right now the ball is going to stay where it is, and as I go around the shape, the ball is going to stay where it is. I'd like it to move with us. And so I could place this video in, or excuse me, I could place the ball in each keyframe 20 times and do that. But I'd like to be able to do this quickly. So what I'm going to do is I go to my object here. I've just placed the ball, and I haven't set the position yet to the keyframe. So let me go back here to first keyframe here, and I'm just going to say add to keyframe animation so that that will put that position of the ball in the keyframes. Now I could go around to each one of these keyframes and manually adjust the position of the ball, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to go File and just save settings to clipboard. Okay. And then I'm using two programs. I'm using Notepad++. Let's see, the wrong one. I'm using Notepad++. It's a free freeware, and I'm also using the LibreOffice calculator. It's a spreadsheet. It's the freeware version of Excel, and that's what we're going to use. So first, I'm here in Notepad. I'm just going to Control V to paste the parameters of that animation into this empty pad here. Now here's all the settings that you would normally see, blah 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 blah, and then as we get down to keyframes will be set off by brackets, and then everything below keyframes is the keyframe details. This is the stuff that we want to put into a spreadsheet. Now through a lot of trial and error, I figured out instead of trying to export these entire settings into a spreadsheet, really all I need are the keyframe values. So everything after, or from the beginning of the text that starts after keyframes, I'm going to copy that. I could just Control C, but we're going to copy that. And I'm going to actually Control N, make a new, and V, paste it. So now I have a new document. I have the old document that is missing. In fact, actually, I wanted to actually Control X those just to get rid of them. So I'm going to pretend that I Control X and then Control V to cut and paste. So these new settings I'm going to save on my desktop or wherever. Let's just save it in the desktop, and we're going to call it mirror ball. And we're saving it as a text file. So this is now saved as mirrorball.txt. So over here in LibreOffice Calc, I want to just open that text file that I just saved onto my desktop called mirrorball. I'm going to open that, and that's going to give me a preview of what it's going to look like, and I just want to hit open, and then it's going to give me an text import dialog. I want to keep the character set Western European, language default. I want to start with the front row of 1, and that's why we pulled out just the keyframes, because otherwise we'd have to count how many settings down to pull out those, and we don't have to do any of that. Here's the important part. Separator options, make sure you have the semicolon on, and make sure you have this double tick which is a string delimiter. That's all we're going to need. It's going to show us right now what the different columns of text are going to look like. We're just going to hit OK. And we've now imported all of the Mandelbulber animation settings into columns and rows into this spreadsheet. We could have used Excel, but I didn't. We used the free LibreOffice Calc. I find actually this works better than Excel. Your results may vary. This tells you the frame number. This tells you the type of interpolation. We're going to ignore this row pretty much largely and keep it where it's at. We're going to ignore this row pretty much largely, although it's going to tell us what the frame numbers are. What we want to do is we want to take these camera values, X, Y, and Z. We don't need the target values or the main camera top positions. We simply want the location of the main camera, and we're going to copy that into main primitive sphere position, which are these last three ones. Here are some values for the fractal that we morphed, which is not part of this video, but this is all the camera information. This shows the target that the camera is pointed at. This shows basically the angle that the camera is at. This shows the location of the camera. What we want is we want that mirror ball to be at the location of the next keyframe. So the easiest thing for us to get a result is to actually offset everything by about 5 keyframes. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip that. So I'm going to literally start at the 5 keyframe, which is 6. I'm going to copy that. Since this is on the edge, I'm going to go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going, oh, actually, sorry. All the way down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Paste that in. Now go up to the first 5 keyframes that I skipped. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Copy those and paste that in here at the end. Alright, now I want to take this whole row and Control X and put it into here. Main primitive sphere position, and then we save it, and it automatically will feed back mirror Notepad++ asks us, it says the file has been modified by another program. Do you want to reload it and lose the change? Yes, I do want to reload it. And when it reloads it, we now have these semicolons at the end of it. Just delete out all the semicolons right there. Then Control A to select all of it. We're going to Control X to chop that out of there. Go back to our original file that is just waiting after keyframes for our next. We'll hit Control V, and now we've chunked that all in there. I'm going to go Control A again, copy all that, go back to Mandelbulber, File, Load Settings from Clipboard, delete out those images that were in there before, and when I run this out, you'll notice that the mirror ball will be 5 keyframes ahead. Hopefully, yep. The mirror ball is now 5 keyframes ahead of us. If we did just 1, it would actually be off scene, because the way that we're rotating around this tower, we can't actually see the camera position until around keyframe 5. If I did 6, it would be too far ahead. I could do, just keep going around this thing and put that mirror ball ahead of us. I could put another mirror ball at keyframe 4 and one at 6 and have 3 of them tracking ahead of us. And see, as we go around the shape, as I tested this out earlier, you'll notice that we actually lose sight of the ball occasionally, depending on how we've gone around this shape. But that's the basic idea. We have now successfully just tracked all this. And then the cool part is, when we go back to here, every time we make a change and save it, it will we go back to this tab, it'll ask us if we want to update it. If we say yes, it'll update, it'll add the semicolons, we delete out the semicolons, we just copy this back over to here and replace everything after keyframes, and we just keep doing that each time that we make changes in our spreadsheet. And that's the easy peasy way to do this outside of Mandelbulber. All right, have fun. Go forth and fractal.